This is like the most, like 16% loss from Intel, 16% gain from AMD. This is the most transparent transfer of stock ownership or jumping ship of stock investors that I have ever seen in my whole life. Hello, welcome to another video of Simple Invest. And I just saw this news when I watched Linus Tech Tips on YouTube this morning, and I checked the stock price of Intel versus AMD, and it was really interesting. So I wanted to make this video as soon as possible. So this is an article that you're seeing here is from Tom's Hardware, tomshardware.com, excellent website for tech reviews and stuff. Intel 7 nanometer is broken. Well, that's a significant phrasing. Company announces delay until 2022-23. Okay, to summarize, basically Intel has been delaying their 7 nanometer manufacturing process for their CPUs. And AMD is already on 7 nanometer process, which their Zen 2 CPUs currently for desktop are already on 7 nanometer. And AMD is moving into the 4000 series CPUs, which will be for mobile devices, meaning like for laptops. Then you have integrated graphics along with those laptop chips. So those laptops don't really need a discrete graphics card. But of course, it will be lower power graphics. But anyway, AMD is moving into the mass consumer market, meaning like for systems made by like companies like probably Dell, like Lenovo laptops, or like smaller desktop systems. So AMD is moving into that, which is originally been dominated by Intel. And mainly because on the AMD is moving into because of the success of their Zen 2 architecture chips on in the market with a stronger, a better process, 7 nanometers. So they are having higher margins because it's lower cost. They can fit more cores onto the same CPU die size for desktop parts, which means more cores means higher compute power. So stuff like all your rendering software, your video rendering, your 3D rendering, your extensive like code compilation for programmers, and maybe Blender is like a 3D renderer. So just everything except all production software except for games run faster on AMD chips, especially the latest Threadripper chips. So Intel has been losing this front for a long time, almost like 2 years. And they just recently announced in their Q2 earnings that they have to delay their own 7 nanometer manufacturing process for their CPUs by another 6 months. So this timeline, I think, is the most realistic. There are a few reports of this. For example, I see BBC, delaying says the delay until 2022, but coming from a tech news site, I believe is more realistic. Early 2023. Yeah, early 2023 could be their projected timeline of when Intel starts making 7 nanometer chips. And AMD has already been doing 7 nanometer for the past like 1 year, 2 years. And who knows by 2023 whether AMD will be moving on into an even more efficient manufacturing process. So as quoted by Linus Tech Tips, this is a failure on Intel's own foundry. So the difference between Intel and AMD right now is that AMD is using a third-party foundry, I believe it's TSMC, who is making the chips for AMD. But Intel is still using their own manufacturing process, their own foundries in Intel's own production line to produce all these chips, and it is showing that it is failing. It's not being able to keep up with other third-party chip manufacturers such as TSMC, which have led AMD to become a market leader. So, but anyway, so on the AMD side, AMD has announced that they'll be moving on to Zen 3 processors either end of this year, 2020, or early next year. So to put a little bit of context, their current CPU line, that means their 3000 series desktop CPUs, that means the 3600, the very popular 3600 to the 3900Xs, or the most powerful 3950Xs, and their Threadripper parts are considered on, Threadripper I'm not too sure whether it's considered Zen 2, but anyway, their desktop CPUs are considered on Zen 2 architecture. and they'll be moving into the next generation of chips, a new architecture, which we possibly believe that is even more efficient. The Zen 3 architecture will come end of this year, 2020, or early next year, 2021, which is still like 2 years ahead. So the next generation is going to be 2 years ahead of Intel, and Intel is going to take 2 years later just to catch up to the current AMD chip generation. So it's like things are looking bleak. And if you look at the stock price now this is where the interesting part. Intel last night, right after this announcement, dropped 16%. So it's now at $50. It used to be $61 before that. And AMD jumped by 16%. So literally people who are selling Intel stock immediately went over to buy AMD stock. That's as a literal translation of this stock move, as you can see. But of course, I mean, there are other casual buyers or other investors which have jumped into this ship. It's not a literal translation, but there's never been such a even percentage gain and loss on both these two competitors ever. This is like the most, like 16% loss from Intel, 16% gain from AMD. This is the most transparent transfer of stock ownership or jumping ship of stock investors that I have ever seen in my whole life. So this is like AMD just, so the night before AMD was like $59, and then it just jumped to $69, 16% in one night. I mean in one market day for America, but in one night for me from Singapore. So yeah, this is a interesting move, and I believe if you have watched my earlier videos before, I have mentioned that AMD stock is a good buy. It's a good buy since beginning in the year, like when COVID-19 situation hit. I bought AMD stock even before. Okay, did I buy it? Yeah, I bought it before the COVID-19 drop, the COVID-19 dip in the market. I think I bought it. Yeah, I bought it around here, or I forgot when I bought it. But I've been a long time believer of AMD stock. So I bought it previously, and then I believe I sold it when it was starting to drop in February this year because due to the COVID situation. And I rebought the stock, I believe around here or here. I'm not 100% sure, but probably around March 2020, when the stock market was recovering from the US Federal Reserve promising to pump liquidity into the US market to try and prop up the stock market and all that. And yeah, so I rebought AMD stock. Back then, I believe I did. Okay, let me check out my own YouTube channel. I actually forgot when I uploaded my video on saying whether AMD's. Oh, I think I did it when. Let me see. When did I do it? Let me check it out. I believe I made a recommendation. Was it? No, that was in Sony Corp. Okay, so I was saying PS5 was going to release, so that was another popular videos whereby I was discussing whether we should be buying Sony stock because PS5 is gonna come and sell. Oh, okay. So that was back in January this year, January 10th, 2020. So that was before the January 10th, 2020. So I made its call around here. Yeah. So I made that video in response, I think it was this. So if you can see it, let me just bring it here.
So let's look at some fundamental
Yeah, so I made this video.
info.
Invest in a company that
Income
makes the
statement,
upcoming PS5.
quarterly income statement,
Take a look
revenue.
at Sony's finances. Was it this one? No, not this one. Okay, not this one. Sorry. This
technical aspects
one.
would be it called AMD
Yeah, I was saying
chipset.
on January 10th,
So
2020, that
this
AMD stock
sparks
price will
an
go up along with
interesting thought
PS5
in my
sales.
mind that I should instead
So I
invest
was
in
making
it.
this call in support of the fact that AMD processors, I don't know whether the graphics will be AMD, but I think AMD graphic GPUs as well as CPUs will be used in the upcoming Sony PlayStation 5, which is gonna probably release by end of this year or early next year. And I was making a recommendation that I believe the AMD stock was gonna go up because of the upcoming PS5 sales. But of course, I did mention in my video as well that AMD also has other good stuff going for it, such as their manufacturing process, their chips are more competitive than the Intel counterparts. And this was in January 10th. So that was before the the worldwide pandemic situation hit the stock market. So that was January 10th when it was $48. So briefly, it did go up then the stock sell-off began. So I didn't make any further calls there, but privately I did buy back AMD stock around March. I think March or April, I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, so it's been doing well ever since. Yep, so I don't think I have any much else to say for this video, other than the fact that yeah, AMD stocks going strong, and this is just a very interesting take on this Intel versus AMD stock price situation. Okay, and thanks for watching. We will see you guys next time.